Over the years, marketers have been analyzing the different generations, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and recently we have seen there's a red thread among all of them: speed. They all want everything to happen now. My name is Francisco Serrano, and I am the Chief Speed Officer at 1-to-1 and the host of the Now Gen podcast. Join me. Each episode, we talk about what's happening with brands, see how brand professionals across different industries cope with this fast-changing market, and live up to the expectation of this now generation. Welcome.
This episode is brought to you by 1-to-1, the fastest day-to-day design and content studio. For more than 17 years, 1-to-1 has been their premier partner for many Fortune 500 companies, proving that tight deadlines shouldn't be a hassle.
Welcome back, and let's welcome Francisco Tejeda. He is the current VP of Digital Business at Intermex, wire transfer. He has experience in marketing of a couple of Fortune 500 companies also, and his life he's spent dedicated to trying to convince all the mass markets to buy his brands, right? So today we're glad to have him here and talk about his experience and the importance of the Now Gen and what is he doing currently. So welcome, Francisco. Glad to have you on special guest on the Now Gen podcast.
Francisco, my good friend, thank you very much for inviting me here. Super happy to talk about the Now generation. I know that I've been throughout my career a Now generation all the time, but happy to share my experiences and happy to share a little bit the history and all of what I've done for consumers and for the companies that I've worked for. And again, happy to be here. So let's do it.
Yes, thank you. Well, let's start at the beginning, right? But first, tell us a little bit more about Intermex. What is exactly that you guys do?
Absolutely. Intermex is a US-based company that actually moves money and sends money from the US, from migrants that live in the US. We help them move their money back to their countries of origin so they can actually help their families and relatives that live there to have a better life, like a better house, etc. So we are the company that help them send their money from the US to their loved ones in Latin America, mainly right now.
Okay, and you do this for any type of, do you focus on any particular market, Mexican or any other particular market?
Yes, the company has distribution right now from the US to all Latin America and also to some countries in Africa. But the biggest market for money transfer in the world, it's actually US to Mexico. That is actually the biggest market. So for us, it's also super, super important. And it is important and very relevant for us because we are the largest brand that sends money to Mexico. That is very, very relevant because we're not a huge company. And however, we're the number one sending from the US to Mexico, which is the largest market in the world. And then we are also the number one sending to Guatemala as well, which is one of the largest in the world, not the biggest. But it's very interesting how can we be so strong in some markets, but mainly our distribution is Mexico and Guatemala.
And as far as you're talking about now the nationality of the transfer that take place, but what about the target? Is it, baby boomers or millennials, or do you have like a niche that specifically uses your services?
Yeah, absolutely. These are migrant people that come from those countries and mainly in Latin America. And they work in several kind of typically blue collar jobs, and they are between 25 to 45, sometimes a little bit older in terms of age. And they as I mentioned, they work in restaurants, they work in agriculture, and they have a very, these guys are heroes. We call them heroes because they work 2 or 3 shifts a day. They send most of their money back to their homes, and we really respect and try to help as much as we can these consumers, because again, they're heroes and they're helping their communities, they're helping their families, and we try to know as much as we can about them, to really help them and treat them with respect and treat them with the quality they deserve, to send their money via our stores or retail stores, or via online or app or web as well.
Okay, so just talking a little bit about consumer behavior, because I don't know pretty well your market, and so what is it? You talked about a age bracket from 25 and up. And we're talking about the now gen, the speed in which people now, they are talking about instant gratification, and they're wanting to know now what's happening. They are not patient. They want everything to happen now. Does that influence in any shape or form the money transfer industry? Because I know that you've been in a well-known brand, Western Union, right? So for a couple of years. So is money transfer and speed related in some sort of way? Absolutely.
And I'll tell you much more about that. As you mentioned, Western Union, I was with them like 8 years, 8.5. So now I'm almost 10 years into this category. For the consumer behavior and use cases, when you send money back home, you can send money for regular maintenance, right? I mean, you can send money to even your kids. If your kids are back in Latin America, you send them, and that's more scheduled, right? Like every 15 days, every week, whatever. Then you can also send money for gifts, right? It's a gift for your cousin, a gift for your friend, or whatever. But there's a very specific use case, which is emergencies. And emergencies it's now. What is an emergency? I mean, somebody had an accident in Guatemala, in El Salvador, in Mexico, and they need money for the doctor. Every emergency, the time is critical, right? So we are proud to be able to serve those customers and send in a few minutes. So you put your cash in a retail, you put your money via debit or credit card, and they have an emergency, and then they can pick up the money back there in minutes. I've actually done this in some instances in which I send the money, and then I can my relatives are there. I'm on the phone, and within seconds, sometimes they pick up the money. So it is very important for some specific use cases. It is like not only important, but it's really sometimes, I don't want to exaggerate, but sometimes life and death situations, right? So speed is in these instances is paramount.
Okay, and before I move forward, because you and I have discussed your challenge that you currently have at Intermex, but before we jump into that digitalization challenge that you have and how you're solving it, which is very interesting, how you're doing it. I would like to go back a little bit and see if there's a red thread among this that you're telling us of, the speed, the emergency, in the companies that you work for that are not, money transfers, like, Hershey's or Racket. So can you tell us a little bit about going a little bit in the past and see and tell us the relationship between this also and the emergencies or the instant gratification? Is that a red thread that you have seen in your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at that, particularly in any industry, right? One is the consumer, which is the most important part always, but also the other part, specifically for these kind of now generations, is your type of consumers for your company, which are the executives of the companies, right? Yeah. So let's talk about both, because I think there's an interesting relationship there. When we're talking about consumers, in Hershey particularly, we had a a section or category of our products, which we call instant consumables. So that is an interesting choice of words, because we also have packaged candy. In packaged candy, you typically go to a supermarket, you buy a bag of Kisses or whatever, you take it home, and you consume that every day or every 2 days or whatever. You consume it afterwards. But instant consumables are single size chocolates or candy that are typically in the front end, in the checkouts of the stores. And that is very important because it's impulse buying. And impulse buying is something that it's really there, and you like it, and then you have this desire to get that Hershey's chocolate bar, and it's an impulse, and you buy it immediately. That's why they're in the checkout. The checkout, as you know, is the most valuable real estate in the store, because it's the only place in the store that 100% of the buyers go through, right? A buyer can go for milk and can go for whatever, and they don't necessarily have to go for 100% of the places of the store. But the checkout, you have to pay, right? So it's very important, and it's very important for the retailers and the manufacturers to have products there that are impulse buy, that the consumer is going to pass, and they're a high percentage of them are gonna buy it because they like it, to have it in the moment. So that's instant gratification for sure, like the very definition of instant gratification, right? So on that side, yes, we had that segment for Hershey's. But going to the other side, which is the people that work in the companies, I mean, innovation, it's uber important for any company of any category. And when you sit inside the company and you want to offer consumers new products, new ideas, new services, innovation is something that is always going to be driving categories. And to innovate, you need speed. You need things now. You can't wait to say, hey, I have an idea, and then I need these designs, and then the design agency is going to take like 3 months to come up with the first concept, and then we're going to finish in 6 months, and then we need to send it to the supplier of the packaging, and then we're going to launch in 2 years. In Hershey particularly, we shortened the innovation time a lot, from a cycle of 18 to 24 months to as short as 3 months. Wow. And when you have an innovation window of 3 months, you have the ability to innovate and fail, and re-innovate and fail, and re-innovate and fail, and re-innovate and home run. And when you have a home run, then all the fails are gone, right? And the only way to do that is with speed, and that's why we, as part of employees of a company, for us it's very important, the now generation, right? We are the now generation.
I know. And what you were saying is that test and grow, and test and speed over perfection is because human beings, we tend to not want to fail. And we don't launch it because we're not sure that it's going to be a success. And the only way to make sure that it's a success, it's if you fail, and then you reconstruct, and then you fail again, and then you build up until you reach the success. It can be in several brands, or it can be in one brand, right? Depending on that. And what about by the way, I am not a client of impulse chocolate buying.
Oh, I'm sure you're not. No. Yes.
No, I am not. I just wanted to put that on the record, right? So,
okay.
But tell me a little bit about the other brands that you have managed, right? So Resolve, or any other, cleaning, the household brands. Mm-hmm. Does that affect?
Yes, I mean, Resolve. I mean, it's a carpet cleaning or a clothes cleaning brand, right? That's the now generation still has importance, because it depends on the specific situation of the consumer, right? Let's talk about a carpet that needed to be cleaned because there's a spot there. I mean, if there's a little spot in your carpet, I guess you can live with that for a few days, maybe for a few weeks, right? But what if an important relative, I don't know, your mother-in-law and somebody else comes to your house and you want it to be perfectly clean, right? Then speed and getting rid of that spot that really can speak bad about you, right? Or the cleanness of your house. Then now it's a different situation, right? So specific cases require specific speeds. So there are some consumer occasions or some specific situations in the life of a consumer where they need to fix things now, right? You remember that famous, very, very famous advertising about the talking stain, right?
Yes, of course.
So the talking stain is somebody that goes to an interview, and the only one that can be talking for the actual interviewer is the stain, because he's just focused on the stain. So how important could that be? Speed for that person if it's in the waiting room for the interview, and he has something to solve that for right now before he goes to the interview. That's super important, right? But some products are really not necessarily designed for speed or for urgencies, but some situations can make that urgency like very, very important, and you need to solve that like now, right?
Yeah, and I want to piggyback that idea and bring you back to the now activity that you are doing with the wire transfers. And does technology play a role in helping that emergency, or that I want it now, in a role in this whole piece? Is technology important?
Yes, I mean, we are a tech company. We're a fintech company for sure. We have what we call brick and mortar agents that are retail agents, because we handle a lot of cash coming in, like people that want to send cash, and cash receiving in the countries, in the receiving countries. But make no mistake, the agents have computers to send the money, to send the wire, right? And the receivers have computers. And now I'm in charge of the digital business, where it's sending money through your phone or sending money through your computer. But our engine to send money is technology. So technology is very important, because if technology is designed for you to wait 5 days to deliver the money, then your technology is not up to these times and to the consumer needs. Your technology needs to be aligned and designed to send the money now, right? I remember in the other company, we had a product that was next day. And that's an interesting product, because that is how consumers can choose about, I need my money to be sent now, or I can wait a little bit, my receiver can wait a little bit, it's a gift, and then I save a little bit of money, because next day is a little bit cheaper to send. So you can see in those two products how technology allows you to actually delay the sending of the money, right? And charge a little bit less to the consumer. But consumers can choose, right, to say, no, this is urgent, I need to send it, so I'm going to send it now, even if it costs me a little bit more, or tomorrow. But circling back to your question, technology is everything for this kind of companies, because that's how we send the money.
And what happened this pandemic year? Did it influence you guys? Did you increase sales? Did you decrease sales? What happened? What was the outcome in your company?
Yeah, in our company, we actually dealt with that in a very, very good way. We saw consumers for sure moving from brick and mortar, from retail to digital, for sure. And we saw that in the category, not only in our company, because people were afraid to go out last year, right? And some stores were closed. But we had really, really a very good reputation, very good service. And the category continued to grow last year and is growing this year. And we did good, very good, but we also saw a lot of people for a period of time specifically moving from retail to digital, because that was the way to send money back then. but it's interesting that the phenomena around that, there was an acceleration of adoption for sure of the digital channel. So that is a very interesting case that happened in COVID last year.
Yeah, from your perspective, dealing with the business, digital business as a tool to grow right now where you're at, what are the key factors in order for you to achieve faster this goal?
So the key factors absolutely is a good product, a competitive product, a good consumer experience. Our strategy is broad on purpose, because our product strategy is kind of having our online strategy is giving the consumer the best customer experience. That sounds a little bit broad and not very specific, but that's online, right? When we go to the product strategy, we want to surprise and delight consumers in every key aspects of the product experience, the app or the web. And what that means for us is for the consumer to really feel good about using the app. And that can be sending a repeat wire in less than 20 seconds, in less than 15 seconds. It's like, I know I'm going to send to my mom. I know last time I sent her $100. So I'm going to send her another $100. Button, click. Are you sure? Yes, done. Right? That is amazing. The other thing that we're doing is in the product is, for example, usually in the category, you need to give a lot of information. It's very necessarily for compliance purposes. So to register, we used to ask for a lot of information. Other companies ask for a lot of information, your name, your phone number, your address, so all of that, and then you register. Right now, what we're doing for a new product that we're launching is just give me your email, you'll register, okay? You can play around with our engine to see how much it will cost you to send the money, the payers, everything. You can play with it, and when you're ready, then you give us the information, because we need the information for sure. But we want to have an experience that is very pleasant for the consumer, surprise and delight. And a lot of that is speed for sure.
Okay, so the shorter it takes for you to get rid of that, the faster that you're going to be happy and you're going to recommend. I would imagine that, and this is just, it's a question, not assumption of mine. Is the target audience an educated in technology and they are easy? Has that been a challenge for you, or to generate an experience that is simple and easy because of that, or just because they're on the road always and trying to do it, or they do it at night, or is that had to do with anything that you're building right now at the Intermex?
Well, the good news is that our target market, mostly Hispanics in the US, they went through a very interesting leap in technology, right? Take us back to 10 years ago, more or less, maybe 15, 10, 8 years ago. Hispanics in the US typically didn't use a laptop or computer usually, but they were very high adopters of the smartphone. So they leapfrog the computer into the smartphone. So the usage of the smartphone is very high. So they know how to use it. It's easy for them to really operate a new app. So for us, that's an advantage, because they really use their phone as their connection with the digital life, for sure.
Yeah, connecting back home, Facebook or whatever, right? So
WhatsApp and video chats and just the internet in general. I mean, most of Hispanics use their cell phone to access the internet and the browser, etc. They don't typically use a laptop or a desktop.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. And okay, so we're coming to the end of the interview, but before that, I want you to go into the time machine and tell us what is it that you feel proud most of you, that you said, hey, Francisco Tejeda, I love you for that. You are a great, you achieved this perfectly. What is it that in the whole, I mean, I'm sure there are several things, but just
Right.
one that comes to mind.
I think growth. I think I've been focusing on growth all the time. I mean, we didn't talk about my background, but I've always been like very, very focused on building my career and grow. Right. I started like at 13 years old. I was selling hamburgers in a corner. It was not my business. It was somebody else. And then at 15 years old, I was parking cars in a hotel. And then my first job, formal, was like a sub manager of a type of showbiz pizza type of thing, like restaurant with games for kids. But then I went to Gerber in sales, then to Nivea in sales, and then trade marketing, and then Hershey's into marketing. So sales, trade marketing, and marketing. And then after 7 years in Hershey, I wanted to move to the US to get a bigger challenge. And then I moved to the US for a bigger challenge in Hershey. And then I moved to Reckitt Benckiser to New Jersey. And then I moved to Denver. And then I moved to Western Union. And from junior sales associate to sales associate to trade marketing manager to marketing associate, marketing manager, marketing group, branch group manager, to marketing manager in the US, senior marketing manager, marketing director, now VP. So I like to keep moving forward. I think that's my thing. I don't want to stay in a standstill. I want to keep moving forward. So I think that'll be my desire, to keep moving forward and hopefully do bigger things every time.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's amazing how you started 13 years old. Instead of, in the US selling lemonades, you were selling hamburgers. That's good. I mean, the hustle. You've always been a hustler, right?
Hustle is important for me. Hustling is important for me. And what CPG the classical CPG has taught me is focusing on the consumer, right? Even in fintech, in technology and product management and whatever, that's nothing without just understanding your consumer first, and then you can do whatever. So I think it's hustling and understanding the consumer, I think, are two basic keys for anyone, I guess.
Yes, and I want to stop right there and ask you, think about all the people that are listening to this podcast, and that you're going to be there, and they're going to be listening more and more in the future, and the theme is going to be based out of the now gen and how they're going to face up, and everybody has their own challenges, whether it's fintech or it's consumer packaged goods or services industry. What would you say that you want them to take as a note for them to use out of this whole conversation, your experience? What is the one thing that you would say, take this and use it?
I guess because I've been in 2 different countries and managing many different people and being peers and manage them or whatever, what I would say is know yourself, right? Because I'm very growth driven, sometimes early in my career, I didn't understand people that were like, oh, I'm a manager and I'm going to remain a manager. I'm happy here. And I didn't understand, right? Because I wanted to grow and grow and grow. And then I saw how happy they were. They're like, oh my God, there's something there. So know what you want, and then figure out a way to accomplish what you want. If you want to be a manager, that's perfectly fine. And you want to be a manager for a long time, do whatever you need to do to make that happen. Be awesome at your job and be really good, and just balance. Work-life balance is important for you. Just enjoy what you're doing. If you want to grow, like in my case, focus on that and think about that and think how you can grow within your company, or search out opportunities or whatever. But my advice would be, understand yourself, understand your stress, threshold and there's what you want to, because everything has a cost, right? And the trade-offs of what you want, and just pursue what you really want. And everybody can be different, and that's okay. Just understand yourself, understand what you want, and just go for it.
Yes, and I understand that now you are currently moving, right? You were living in Denver and now you're living in Miami. It's not such a bad place right now. Huh?
It is not a bad place. Both places, both Denver and Miami, are amazing places to live, in my opinion. I mean, Denver is everybody loves Denver. It's a beautiful place and have a lot of parks and the mountains and the ski and the hiking is just amazing. Miami is also wonderful. I found that some people that live here and work a lot on the streets, because there's a couple of months that can be really hot. They're like, it's too hot. But for me, I mean, coming from Mexico, the weather, the place, the people, the restaurants is really nice. So I'm happy with both places, Denver and Miami. But it's true that I'm not kind of losing or gaining necessarily from those places, and I think that's nice.
And it helps you grow, right? As a professional, as a human being, your family. I assume that being always in a non-comfortable zone, it's always a place where things are born and create and generate, right? So that's good, I assume.
Look, change is good all the time. Change is good. Remember, in my country, one of the politicians said that if you move, you don't look good in the picture, right? That was it. The old times, the old politicians. If you move, you don't look good in the picture. Now is adapt and change, or change and adapt. And change is always good. And there's always the opportunity. If you don't like a place, a job, or a city, I mean, just have the strength to say, I don't like it. I'm going to move to other place. But if you like it, it's very enriching, right? Very enlightening. It's different cultures. It's funny here, like most of the people speak Spanish. I mean, you would think that a portion of the people like, no, like everything, like
everybody, yes,
everybody speaks Spanish. And that's a little bit weird, because even in Los Angeles, just in some places of Los Angeles, only Spanish, some places of Los Angeles, only English. Here is like mostly only Spanish, and that's interesting for me. But it's beautiful. I like it a lot.
Yes, beautiful Miami, and I would like to wrap up this interview with a final question for you, since you're in Miami a lot and you're a brand professional and expert. I would like you to tell me your top 2-3 brands of sunscreen.
Sunscreen, that's very important.
Yes, I mean, if you want to take care of your body, you need to be well protected. So tell me, which brands do you like and why?
Well, Francisco, I have to say, I mean, I've used many different brands, but I don't know a lot on some of the brands. But I know some about one brand, which is the company that I work for, which is Nivea. Or Nivea. And they have a line, Nivea Sun, a line. And what I know about that is that it's super high quality. I've seen the manufacturing process. Everything is really, really, really well produced, and all the ingredients are really very good for your skin. They're the experts in skincare. So I when I am the one that purchases, because most of those purchases are done with my wife. My wife actually purchased that. But when I purchase, I typically choose Nivea, because I know that it's a good product. I'm not going to lose with a Nivea product. So I just typically go and look at the shelf, and it's like, here's Nivea. And then I look for the SPF, and I select my SPF. But I don't think about it, because I know about the company. It's a good company, it's high quality company. So it's like, I can't lose with that, right?
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for that. I didn't know that about Nivea.
It's a good line. They have many lines. For face, for body, and they have the sun line.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I need to take that into consideration. And well, anything you want to say before we wrap it up, Francisco?
No, I think that the only thing that I think is very good for your podcast, and the theme of your podcast is that differentiation is important, right? You're running a design agency, and design agencies can be good, can be bad. You can have fantastic designers or whatever, but any company like yours, which provides a service, needs to have a differentiation, right? You do the same as others. I mean, you can have success, but you're not going to have success to the dimensions of success that you're having because you have a differentiation. In my opinion, that differentiation, it's key for your customers, because you can get like cheaper design agencies, you can get more expensive design agencies, and you can judge the quality of the design of both of them. But if you are the best at speed, that for your clients, it's probably the most valuable thing ever. In I don't know of any other company that is focusing on that. So your differentiation is right on. It's a big need, in my opinion, for most executives in companies. Big need, and people would be happy to pay premium for that if they need to. But it's just, I think you're doing a wonderful job around that, and this podcast and the subject actually reflects that. And I think it's a great value for your clients. So I appreciate that from your company, and well done on that.
No, thank you very much, Francisco. We've been together. I mean, we'll follow both careers for well over now, what?
10, 15?
15?
Wow.
15 years?
15, yeah. Probably, yeah.
I used to have hair, you know.
I remember.
Believe it or not, but yeah. Well, no, thank you for those encouraging words, and yes, we try to be different from the rest. So thank you for that. Okay, so we've been talking to Francisco Tejeda, VP of Digital Business at Intermex Wire Transfers. Francisco, where can people reach you?
My email. I mean, if they want to reach me in my email, it's always the best way to do it is F as in Francisco, last name Tejeda, F Tejeda at intermexusa.com.
Okay, and LinkedIn also, right? Do you have
LinkedIn, Francisco Tejeda for sure.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much, Francisco. If you want to learn more about the most relevant power brands in the now generation, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Francisco.